Lords of the waves? Not so fast. The Vikings may have been fierce warriors, but their mastery over the seas is often exaggerated. Vikings. Just the word makes you think of strong warriors sailing across the sea, braving the elements with their iconic longships. They raid, they pillage, they explore, all thanks to their amazing ships, right? These vessels were indeed marvels of their time, allowing them to travel vast distances. Well, hold your horses, or should we say, longboats. The reality of Viking seafaring is a bit more nuanced. The truth about Viking ships is a bit more wobbly. While they were ingeniously designed for speed and versatility, they had their limitations. Their ships were tough, that's for sure. Built with overlapping planks and intricate carvings, they were a testament to Viking craftsmanship. But they were also very tippy. In rough seas, these ships could be quite unstable, making long ocean voyages perilous. Imagine a canoe, but much bigger. That's kind of what a Viking ship was like. They were narrow and shallow, perfect for navigating rivers and coastal waters. That's kind of what a Viking ship was like. Good for rivers and coasts, but not so much for the open ocean. They could easily be swamped by large waves. Good for rivers and coasts, but not so much for the open ocean. So, while the Vikings were indeed formidable seafarers, their ships had their own set of challenges. Next time you think of Vikings as the lords of the waves, remember, the reality was a bit more complex. Why so unstable? It's all in the design. Viking ships were long and narrow with a shallow hull. This made them fast and able to navigate shallow waters. They could even land directly on a beach. But this design had a major drawback. It made the ships very easy to tip over. There was no heavy keel like on modern ships to keep them stable. One good wave and splash. Don't just take our word for it. The tales of Viking adventures and misadventures are well documented in history. History is full of stories about Vikings and their ship troubles. These seafaring warriors were known for their bravery and skill, but even they faced significant challenges on the open sea. There are records of Viking ships being wrecked by storms. These storms were often fierce and unpredictable, making navigation treacherous. Imagine being a fearsome Viking warrior, only to be defeated by a bit of bad weather. The frustration and helplessness must have been immense. And remember, they didn't have modern navigation. Getting lost was easy. Without the aid of compasses or GPS, they had to rely on rudimentary tools and their instincts. They relied on the stars and the sun, but even those could be hidden by clouds. On cloudy nights or during storms, their primary navigation aids were rendered useless. Many Vikings probably ended up miles off course, wishing they had a compass. The vast open sea could be disorienting, and without clear landmarks, they often found themselves adrift, far from their intended destinations. Section 4. Science says, Vikings got lucky. Modern research backs this up. Scientists have studied Viking ships and recreated their voyages. The results? Let's just say those Vikings were lucky to survive some of their trips. Experts believe that the Vikings' success had more to do with their seamanship than their ships. They were skilled sailors and navigators, able to read the wind and the waves. They knew how to handle their ships in rough seas, even if those ships were a bit wobbly. Section 5. The Viking Myth. A lesson in storytelling. The Vikings have long captured our imaginations with their tales of adventure and conquest. So why do we still think of Vikings as masters of the sea? Their legendary voyages across treacherous waters have been passed down through generations. Because it's a good story. Stories of their bravery and skill have been romanticized over time. We like to imagine them as fearless explorers, conquering the waves. Their daring exploits have become the stuff of legend. And in a way, they were. They ventured into the unknown, discovering new lands and forging new paths. They achieved incredible things with the technology they had. Their navigational skills and shipbuilding techniques were ahead of their time. The truth, like most things, is a bit more complicated. While they were skilled sailors, they also faced many challenges. Viking ships were both impressive and flawed. They were marvels of engineering, but not without their limitations. The Vikings themselves were skilled, but also lucky. Their success was a combination of their abilities and fortunate circumstances. Their story reminds us that history is rarely simple. It's a tapestry woven with threads of truth, myth, and everything in between. It's a mix of skill, luck, and maybe even a few near shipwrecks along the way. The legacy of the Vikings teaches us about the power of storytelling and how it shapes our understanding of the past. As we continue to uncover more about their history, we realize that the stories we tell are just as important as the facts we discover. The Viking myth endures because it resonates with our sense of adventure and curiosity. It reminds us that every great story has a bit of truth and a bit of embellishment, and in the end, it's these stories that keep the spirit of the Vikings alive in our hearts and minds.